Hi, community. Welcome. Good afternoon, good morning, good everything. Today, we will host another virtual meetup with those guys from Linkpool. What you mentioned, Eric, Jaurena, Ian Reed. Let's go. Today, it's a special day because we have to celebrate a couple of things. First of them, that 1 year ago, they were my first speakers as a Chainlink advocate. And I'm very grateful for that meetup. And the second one, ladies and gentlemen, today we achieved the milestone of 1,000 integrations at Chainlink. Whoa, let's go. Let's go, fam. Vamos. Yeah. and now we are ready to host this meetup. Hi, Eric. Hi, Ian. How are you, man?
Great, Mark. How are you?
Yeah. So let's begin. A lot of people know about who you are, but let's introduce a little bit yourself. Please, Eric, go ahead.
Absolutely. My name is Eric. I've been part of the Chainlink community for several years now. I help out on the community development side at Chainlink, and I'm the business lead for the integrations team at Linkpool. Also do a little bit of hiring there and help out on the community side too.
What about you, Ian?
So I'm Ian Reed. I head up business development at Linkpool, do some operations stuff as well. And when the guys let me, I get my hands dirty on some of the infrastructure work as well, running some of the Chainlink nodes.
Okay. So people are very interested about Node as a service. What is Node as a service?
Absolutely. So we're really excited about the release of Node as a service, right? It's something we've been talking about for really years. I think it's one of the first articles that Johnny wrote about Linkpool and some of the products that we were interested in offering back in 2018 even. So at this phase in the game, Node as a service is live. And really it's a Chainlink node infrastructure abstraction product, which means that developers who want to build something that leverages Chainlink to bring in external data into their smart contracts can really, really easily and quickly launch a Chainlink node, get plugged in and get started.
And who is Node as a service aimed at?
I think at this stage, Node as a service is primarily aimed at developers. Right now, Node as a service is available on Ethereum testnet. So it makes sense that it's aimed at developers today. I think in the shorter term, we're going to probably see a bunch of data providers as well starting to use Node as a service. And in the longer term, I think it will serve both those two same user groups, but it'll also start to serve other groups as well. We're building Node as a service so that in a way that it's not just our infrastructure that people can select from when they go to there, but also in the future, they'll be able to select from other infrastructure providers as well. So at naas.link, you won't just be able to pick Linkpool products, but you'll be able to pick others as well. So if you want to have someone else, house the infrastructure for your Chainlink node, you can do that there as well. So we're targeting it at infrastructure providers too. I think that's a little bit further out, but then also, a core group of users who want to run their own Chainlink node, aren't developers, aren't data providers, and aren't infrastructure providers, but actually want to run their own Chainlink node too. And in the future, it'll be aimed at them.
Okay, sounds very interesting. So what are Linkpool's goals in bringing NAS to light?
I think the first thing is we really want to we want to decentralize the network, right? That's the whole ethos here of what we're trying to do, and really making the infrastructure and management of that infrastructure available to a wider group of people, including developers, especially right now, to be able to create new use cases and that sort of thing. So that's really what we're trying to do is make our infrastructure that we've spent years developing kind of accessible to more people.
Yeah. So, and what are the next things that you're building for NAS? But it's well pronounced, NAS, or it's the
yeah.
Node.
That's how we say it.
Yeah, NAS. Well, these Americans. Yeah. Okay.
So, we've got a roadmap for. That's probably a dangerous word to use, but we do have an internal roadmap for the NAS development, and I think one of the things that is going to be really exciting is in our next release that we're going to have. We're going to be making all of the Chainlink external adapters available that are already built. So I don't know if people know this, but all of the Chainlink nodes that run all of the feeds across all of the different networks, they all use a common set of external adapters. Those external adapters are in a public repo. Anyone can go there today and look at those. You can look at the list of all the different data providers that are in there, ranging from blockchain.com to Kaiko to Tingo to all of the different Gemini and all of the different data providers. The external adapters for all those exist today. So any node operator, whether they're using Node as a service or running feeds participating there, they can use those external adapters. What we're going to do next at Node as a service is make all of those adapters available to people that have deployed Chainlink node infrastructure. So in a couple clicks, they can add those pre-built adapters directly to their nodes. So that's one of the core things that we're working on next and should be available in our next release.
I between you and me, I promise some alpha leak to the community.
Got another little one for you there.
Yeah. So you talk right now about your roadmap, but what does that timeline look like?
Eric, do you want to talk about the other external adapter thing that we're working on too?
Absolutely. So on top of not only supporting those already existing external adapters, we're really, really excited that the integration team is working on essentially a generic adapter framework that's going to allow somebody to bring any other API, right? Essentially by bringing a URL and either open APIs or premium APIs that require an API key, pass that off to our external adapter framework, and essentially then be able to support even data providers that aren't supported by the external adapters that are already in the Chainlink mono repo. Leveraging the power of the TOML jobs as well in the recent Chainlink 1.0 release, makes it a little bit easier then to parse that data, process it, and then pass it back to the node exactly how you need it to. So really excited about that one. Should be really cool.
And in terms of timelines, always it's the hardest question, right? But in terms of timelines, we are looking for our next release for NAS in January.
Alpha leak.
So hopefully, by the end of January, developers will be able to come in, click and add any one of those adapters or a generic adapter, and really just get started, and you'll be able to provide your API keys if you're subscribed to one of the plans from those providers, and really hit the ground running. And that's what we've tried to do with NAS is continue to add features that really make that full experience of a node operator. I think one of the other things that we're working on too, that we're really excited for this next release is support for more networks. So we're going to support not just the Ethereum testnets. We're still looking at testnets, but we're going to support far more testnets. So Optimism, Arbitrum, BSC, Polygon Matic, Avalanche, and probably some of the other ones as well. So we're really excited about kind of building out that support in preparation for then going to supporting those main nets as well.
Sounds great. Thank you for the alpha. So I'm a software engineer, but I am a little bit lazy on this new text or something like this. How hard it is to spin up a node with NAS?
Well, Mark, it's pretty easy. We can actually even just show you how to do it right now if you want. So,
yeah, please. I love demos. So if you could share something with, oh, yeah, I could see you. I can.
All right. Is the size good? You can see everything?
Perfect. Perfect.
Cool. Okay, perfect. So you go to naas.link. You can either log in using your already existing market.link account or just spin up a new one. That part's pretty easy. So we're just going to go to nodes. We're going to pick whichever testnet you'd like. Let's say Covan, because I know how to say it. Essentially, you can pick which region you'd like.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go with USEC1.
Europe, Europe.
Well, okay, for you. How about that? For you, Mark, we'll go with Europe.
Thank you.
And then deploy. Okay. You've got some passwords you've got to save. I've saved them. How about that? Really, really important, by the way, to save these passwords. These are actually going to how you log into the node UI itself, add configurations, add your bridges, add your adapters, things like that. So really, really important to keep hold of those. Go to my instance. It's being deployed. I'm actually just going to refresh because it might even be done already. We'll find out. Well, it's not. That's okay. But ultimately, sometimes this process takes just a couple minutes, or typically this process takes just a couple minutes. But that really is the long and short of it, is the node itself is now going to be deployed. It's going to have a full Postgres database. It's going to be connected to our really robust and performant set of blockchain full nodes. And at that point, there's a couple other things to do. You're going to need to deploy an operator or Oracle contract for yourself so that your node can then begin to receive requests and serve requests. At this time, the really basic functionality that's supported in the Chainlink core software is, hey, there we go, actually, we're good to go. So our node is now live. I did lie when I clicked the thing. I didn't save my passwords. Maybe I should have, but you could log into the node interface, but that really is the long and short of it. So the node is live and you can configure it and begin to serve external data to your smart contract. So, do you have any questions about that, Mark?
I don't know. It's too easy.
It's super easy, man. It's super easy.
Because it's too easy. I'm confused right now. So it's not possible.
I understand.
Okay.
I was really excited to interface with some of the developers from the hackathon. I had the opportunity to chat with a handful of people there and show them really how easy and how fast it is to spin up a Chainlink node using this. It's what's what I'm looking for. It's really abstracted away that friction there for a lot of people. Yeah. It was really, really exciting to hear that and hear some responses back. So that made me happy.
Okay. So I saw the site naas.link, and how are market.link and naas.link related?
That's a good question. So I think the long and short of it really is that naas.link is going to allow you to deploy a Chainlink node, deploy blockchain nodes in the future, maybe deploy Arbitrum validators, deploy external adapters that serve your Chainlink nodes. So naas.link is going to allow you to create and deploy instances of things like blockchain full nodes, Chainlink nodes, and market.link is going to allow you to list those. And it's going to allow other people to discover them. People will be able to come and find the things that you've built and begin to make use of them. I think that's the long and short of it so far. So.
Okay, relating to this NAS, we have a question from Navas on the community that good new Chainlink nodes run via NAS be subsidized as Chainlink Labs subsidize current Chainlink nodes? But I don't know if you could answer this, or maybe it's for Chainlink, this question.
It is up to Chainlink. Ultimately, the participation in the feeds is at Chainlink's discretion currently. I think there's very high requirements to be able to participate in those today. And that's because of, I mean, we know firsthand, because we participate in so many of the feeds on so many of the networks. It's a lot of work. You need to have 24/7 monitoring. You need to have a whole team in place to be able to do this properly. I think that that's going to increasingly get easier, but I think it's probably never going to be like a set and forget kind of a solution. So I'm not sure that in the short term that NAS nodes would be participating in that. But I think certainly as the network starts to expand and more nodes are included and the size of the node networks grow, I think that that's certainly a possibility, absolutely. And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier when I was talking about the longer time frame, and we're targeting users that are not developers, not data providers, and not actual infrastructure providers either. In the future, I think that is a possibility.
Returning to the demo, Eric, right now I'm
processing.
So the process, because it was, it's like 2 clicks.
It's fast.
It's okay. No, but it was like, right now, for example, if I want to do this node as a service, I need some to collateralize some link token, and this or not? I don't know.
No, you don't need any link to run your node. Now, if you are using your node, right, to serve external data to a feed, or rather to a contract that you've created, you will need some link on that contract to request the data from the node, right? That's still the core loop ultimately. So say you wanted to begin to, like many of the hackathon participants, right? They spin up their own consumer contract that expects certain values in response from the Chainlink node based on the way that they've configured their external adapter. Still need to feed some link into that. Thankfully, the Chainlink docs have some pretty great faucets to get you testnet link on just about every network, and testnet ETH too. So the node itself will need ETH, and then of course your consumer contracts will need link. That's the short answer. So.
Okay, we have another question from the community, from Bilal Zaid. How much of the Linkpool revenue do you expect NAS to take as a 10% of all revenue earned by Linkpool? What a question.
And I think it's just too early to know. I think
too early. Bilal,
I'm just thinking
about
it. Yeah, it is way too early to know that. And just to be candid, our goal with NAS is really about decentralization and creating accessibility. Those are the things that we're worried about and thinking about and driving our product decisions today, and less so about revenue generation and that. Our eyes are really on providing functionality and accessibility to the network.
We have another nice question from one of my friends, Ari. How do you see NAS in 5 years, like infrastructure providers, for example?
Ooh, that's a great question.
It is a good question.
I think for sure we're excited to have a bunch more infrastructure providers begin to offer their services through naas.link, right? That's one of our primary goals, like Ian was saying. What else, Ian?
Okay, another question.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Go ahead.
No, it's really hard to know. I think Eric's right. We'll probably have more products that are available, that infrastructure products that are related to supporting the Chainlink network. It's exciting to think about that. It's exciting to think about, as the node networks grow, as I was talking about earlier, where the growth in node infrastructure will come from. We hope and think that NAS, whether that's Linkpool owned infrastructure or from one of the other providers, will be kind of like a funnel for that, so people can come there. And I think that that's really the kind of growth that we're seeing, or visioning anyway. I think that's the best way to think about it, probably.
Okay, Ari could be happy with this. So community is very excited because we have a lot of questions here. And we have Navas again, who asked, will nodes run via NAS be of the same spec as current Chainlink nodes? It asks, when staking is released, will NAS nodes be staking compatible immediately? Toma.
Sure, I can take that one too. So the nodes that we deploy are the same Chainlink nodes that we deploy for ourselves. So same spec. The version that we're on right now is the most recent supported version for the type of jobs that are being used on NAS right now. So we're totally up to date. We do think that we want to make these features accessible as soon as they're available and as soon as we can do that securely. I think when we think about staking and that kind of thing in the future, there's some other components associated with staking, right? There's some contract work that needs to be in place there, and we're starting to build out about that too, right? We've got our staking platform, which will kind of tie in nicely with the NAS nodes that have been deployed too. So, outside of the actual core feature set, like on the actual nodes that are deployed, you'll need other supporting tooling as well. And that's some of the stuff that we're working on today too.
So another question from Sunny Dethlefsen, excuse me if I not well pronounce this. How can we connect NAS nodes to environmental data, weather data, for example?
Ooh, that's a good one. So there's actually a couple good examples of that in the hackathon project currently, or rather a couple hackathon projects that do exactly that, right? Using the external adapters that either are already extant in the Chainlink mono repo, which you can deploy an image of yourself using Docker, something like that. And very, very soon, just natively within naas.link, you can, if you have an API key to that weather provider, say like AccuWeather or some of these other open weather providers, you can connect that external adapter to your node and begin serving that data. So that's the short answer. So we take care of the infrastructure part in terms of the node being launched, and soon enough we'll be allowing you to more easily configure an external adapter or connect some external adapter to your node to hit that data and bring it back.
So Illich from the chat, the community's website says staking soon. What does soon mean? Tonight.
That's what I heard.
Soon.
I think it's, to be fair, I think it's always said soon.
No,
I think even the old ones did. So
also the other day, Sergey mentioned Superlinear staking under development. So that's okay.
We don't know anything that you guys don't.
So no, you know a lot of things, Manito. So talking about again market.link, what are some future features?
Sure. I mean, just like we're working really hard on naas.link, we're equally working as hard on market.link. One of the things that we're most excited about our next release for the market is we're doing a complete overhaul of the metrics. The metrics are I don't think people quite get the significance, and not the significance, but the resources required to run something like this. We're essentially, connecting to dozens of blockchains and scraping the data in real time. And we've just gone back and completely rewrote that engine that does that to make it more accurate, more performant. And one of the other things that this rewrite will allow us to do is have more consistent data. So we'll be able to backfill data. So even today, as we're working on, moving this to production, we're backfilling all the way to the very start. So we found the first block of any kind of Chainlink related activity on every chain, and are going to sync all the metrics all the way back to there. So we're really, really excited about that release. And one of the other things that's going to allow us to do too is this rewrite will easily plug into other EVM chains. So we'll have very granular data for all of the networks that Chainlink supports. So, like I think even just yesterday or today, the Moon River was announced that it was officially supported. So we're going to bring that in as well. So, as the networks start to expand, we'll be having those metrics available for them there. One of the other big kind of features that we're working on for our next release of the market is really making the data provider nodes that are present there more interactive. So a developer will be able to go there and will be able to run a live query against those data provider nodes, see the structure of the data that's returned, play with variables, play with different input parameters, and really get to live and see what that live data looks like. And from there, once you've kind of seen how that data lives, you'll actually be able to deploy contracts, using Remix and have that all kind of already configured for a developer, just really trying to make the developer experience as smooth as we can. So that's another huge feature that we're working on, is making that data interactivity. There's been a lot of growth in Chainlink products, and we really want to support the visibility of those products in the market as well. So there's this big change in Chainlink job specs to move from JSON format to TOML, and we're going to support that in the market. We want to provide visibility into the other services as well, things like VRF and keepers, just so we think about the market as kind of like a search engine for Chainlink, but also like a window, and that view is kind of incomplete right now. People can't see how many VRF requests are being done, how many keepers requests, and we really want to provide that visibility both to end users, but also to curious people who want to see how the network is working. So those are some pretty big things that we're working on next for the market, and are really excited about those features.
Yeah, I'm really excited also. So another question. While we are at it, what are Linkpool's plans for the medium and long term? Oh, that's a good one.
That is a good one. I mean, I feel like we've talked about some of them. Continue to really work on our products here, right? Our market.link, naas.link, our managed node services, which is something we haven't talked about, but we really help enterprises and funds, firms, high net worth individuals kind of stand up their own Chainlink nodes. So some more growth in that space as well. And really, trying to keep pace with Chainlink. I think, the growth and both in features and network supported and all that kind of thing is something that we need to keep up with if we want to keep pace. And in order to support that, we're constantly, it feels like constantly anyway, trying to grow our team. So I think we're at a team of 16 or so now. We're actively hiring for 2 or 3 more right now. So we've seen a bunch of growth just in the size of our team to support all the different products and features that we want to build, and really just kind of, all in an effort to make these products and services accessible to more people. So when we think about how that growth is going to look, it's really about not just supporting the products and features that we have today, but also supporting things like CCIP, and we're thinking a little bit further out here, but things like feed creation as well, and obviously staking in the future too. Those are kind of the things that we're looking at for areas of growth.
I hear that you are hiring, but I know that you have some good Spanish on there. Like, I want to say hi to Jose and Victor.
We do, yeah. We got a great squad, yeah.
Yeah. We have another questions from Ari. I'm kind of traveler of NAS, end up working on top of Amazon Web Services. How can this single point of failure be addressed?
Absolutely. So it's a good question, right? We talk about decentralization across a number of different metrics, right? As we continue to open this up, I think for one thing, Ian, our current NAS runs on GCP, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's one point right there. So NAS, as it stands right now for us, our infrastructure product offerings there run on GCP. They run in a bunch of different areas, at least 3 different regions you can launch on. And also when we open it up to other infrastructure providers, they're free to essentially choose whatever service they'd like. They can run their own bare metal basically and run nodes on those. They can run it on Azure. They can run it on what other cloud service they'd like to. So there's not going to be restrictions on our end that it has to run on AWS or anything like that, right? That's our hope really, is to continue to bring our own infrastructure multi-cloud and to allow other people to do the same thing for their infrastructure offerings that they give to people and make it available via naas.link. So
I know that the people who is watching this meetup is very familiarized with market.link, but could you show us market.link, how it works?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, because then I could refresh.
Of course. Let's do a quick little tour here. So
Vamos.
This is, this is the landing page. This is the landing page. We've been really heavily featuring, especially on the market, data provider nodes, which means that data providers who have their own novel data to make available to the network are doing so, right? And featuring that via the market. So let's take a peek through here. This is the data providers tab. You can filter by, what type of data that you would looking for. Ideally, this is primarily for developers who are looking to build a smart contract and consume that data via their smart contract. So let's say, sports. Well, here we go. We've got a number of different data providers who are offering sports data. The Sports Data.io, the Rundown, Associated Press is going to be eventually offering some sports data there. And it scores, bookmaker ratings. Let's actually go to Associated Press just for fun, just to take a look at this one, because it's nice. So the Associated Press, at this time, their Oracle is providing election results. And for a developer who's interested in consuming data from one of these data provider nodes, the data providers offer a pretty robust amount of instructions and docs on exactly how to consume that data, right? Points you back to the Chainlink documentation on how to fundamentally do these elements, gives you the network details, what the job ID is, what the minimum payment is. Here's information on the adapter itself. You can click through there and you get the README from the repo that it's in. And then the input parameters that you pass as a request variable to the Chainlink node itself. And then the outputs themselves, how they're formatted, what the type is that they're returned as. And then typically an example consumer contract as well that will allow a developer to quickly take this, deploy it into Remix, and then begin making a request to this node on whatever network they're interested in. In the future, one of the things that we're looking to launch on the market to continue improving the developer experience is launching a deploy via Remix button for these consumer contracts. This information is probably also going to be bounced down to the job level in the future. That's just some basic elements of how things are going to change in the future. Let's take a spin and look at the feeds.
Yeah,
we're getting excited about
excuse me, Eric. Just a question, because I'm just curious. The other day we were talking with Mark Zaller from Aave, and for example, different DeFi platforms, protocols have some synergies between them because of composability. Between node operators, there are some synergies, or all are competition?
I think we're at a stage in the network where all of us working together grows the pie larger, right? And certainly from a perspective of us as a node operator, we're looking to be a leading node operator where we're on every feed, where we're providing data to everything, but we're not looking to be the only node operator, right? That flies in the face of decentralization, right? Because ideally we're reporting data from one data source, Digital Bridge is reporting data from another data source, Link River is reporting it from another one, there's Fuse, Certus One, etc. So, obviously the more participants, the more varied, high quality sources of data there are, the better. So there certainly are synergies, right? We lean on other node operators in the space, and for, what's the word I'm looking for? We share notes. That's the term that I'm looking for. We share notes, grow together, learn together. It's an important element of this collaboration and building together.
That makes sense, because I think that in 5 years the amount of jobs that node operators should I don't know. I'm looking for it. I think that the number of jobs will be increased with 10x or 1000x. No, so as much node operators working together, better.
I think one of the other things about the collection of node operators is, they're all incredibly talented teams, right? They do Chainlink as part of their business, but a lot of them know each other already because they validate for other networks or for other projects. And, it's been really cool to see how they all know each other and help each other grow. And we've just become part of that through Chainlink.
We have another question from community. Will there be a way to request functions from Chainlink nodes by end users? It mentions as an example, using keepers, could Chainlink node automatically pull funds out of Jaurena every month and send it to another address?
So specifically that an individual would want to leverage keepers to rebalance their portfolio or something like that every month? I would think so. Yeah, I would certainly think so. I mean, suffice it to say that is very technically possible, right? That use case specifically is exactly an example of what keepers is built for. I would expect so, is my short answer. So there might be keepers as a service in the future too, where you tell somebody what you want done and then just expose that. They write a smart contract for you that does that. Yeah.
And
there's an alpha leak business idea.
Yeah. Alpha leak. Yeah. Okay. Maybe a lot of people that is watching this video right now wants to become part of Linkpool or become part of some team member of any project on blockchain. How did you get into blockchain professionally? And what advice could you give to someone who wants to get started?
Absolutely. Yeah, so I think it's a great question, obviously, right? It's a hot topic. People are very, very curious about exactly how to do that. And I think that there's a myriad of ways to do it. I think I can speak best to the way that I did it, which was essentially, I got super interested, right? Fell down the rabbit hole in 2017, got sucked into Chainlink 2018, and I just needed to know more. I started showing up to the Telegram, Discord wasn't around at that point, and started asking questions, and then really rapidly turned around and did my best to start answering questions, right? I think the model there is pretty repeatable in that so many of these communities are super open, right? There's work that needs to be done, whether they're asking for it or whether you can just see that it needs to be done. And your best bet is just to show up and start helping, right? Even if you're fairly non-technical, I started out pretty darn non-technical. And I think, Ian, we have a similar story there where just started showing up and doing whatever I could to help and learning as much while I was doing it. And you eventually make yourself irreplaceable, right? And there's so many of these communities that are really looking for that are open to that, explicitly open to that. Mm-hmm. And even the ones that aren't explicitly open to it, they probably actually really want that. So that's my experience, at least. Yeah. Ian, anything to add there? Any thoughts there?
No, I mean, I echo that for sure. That was also my journey. I just was like, decided that this is what I wanted to do, and I just showed up and started doing it. And that's really the best way to learn, right? Like I'm trying to think of a situation where someone would show up and say, "Hey, I want to start helping with this. How can I help?" And someone says, "Nah, sorry, we don't need you," right? Like, I mean, it really is just about being able to offer something and filling a need and making yourself irreplaceable. Kind of like any job, really,
happens. Yeah. Happens faster than you'd think, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have another question from community, from Tobias. Tobias, being new to Chainlink, what is the benefit and cost of running a node on Amazon Web Services? I don't know if this is a question for you guys, but maybe I could answer them. after?
Yeah, I mean, so there's a couple different answers there, right? Like, first of all, the cost of running a node. I mean, we try to abstract that away, right? Like all the complexities with that, so you can just use naas.link. I think is the
best, the best way.
Once we have our pricing up there, it'll, for mainnet, it'll be obvious and clear. And I mean, I think the benefit is further decentralizing the network, right? The network needs to be at a certain place where it's ready for that. But I think that, when we talk about how easy it is or cheap it can be to run a Chainlink node, you can run a Chainlink node locally, and that's free. You can use a free tier at GCP or AWS, also free. But if you want to do it at an enterprise level, that changes a little bit, right? So it's a bit of a sliding scale for sure, but we're trying to make that easier through naas.link.
In my experience, because a lot of people ask me, I want to run a Chainlink node. I say, yeah, go ahead. It's very complex. It's quite impossible. So better to use node as a service from Linkpool than not become a super infrastructure like them. So node as a service is a good one. Also, I was looking at the other product or the other service that you are under development, that once I have, for example, let me think about 100 link, how I could use these tokens to as a collateralized for staking once it's done. I think I was checking how it's the name of this service, but I could not find it.
Sure. I mean, at our site, it's just app.linkpool.io, and it's we call it our staking application. Exactly what that's going to look like, we don't know yet, right? It's hard to anticipate, what the user flow would look like for someone that just shows up with 100 link, because those features aren't built yet. We are building the framework to be able to support that, and really that's what the staking application is. And once we get more clarity on exactly what that looks like in terms of how it's integrated into the network, then we'll be able to answer those kinds of questions.
I remember 1 year ago that I think that I asked the same question.
I think you did.
And I think that I use 1,000 link as an example, right? Maybe next year is like, well, I have 10 links. What?
Nobody has that many.
Nobody has that many. Yeah.
What I have to do, it's like, whoa, that's so. And what is Linkpool's current role in the Chainlink ecosystem right now?
Absolutely. So I think it covers a lot of different things, right? I think one of the early obvious answers is we're a Chainlink node operator, right? We run Chainlink nodes on every network that Chainlink supports, and we do our best to be the best at it. On top of that, right, we're an ecosystem developer. We're building products and services like naas.link, market.link. We're building external adapters to hit novel data sources. We're working on integrations to bring data providers into the network to serve individual requests to users. Let's just to name a couple things, right? We're Chainlink enthusiasts too, suffice it to say. But yeah, I think that those are two of our major roles. So.
Okay, sounds great. I don't know. We have the last questions from our community. What use case or sector of blockchain tech do you see growing large enough for an average user to be able to wipe up a Chainlink node and be able to help contribute to the strength of the network?
I think the secure data links team was right on the money when they said that, it looks like the first way that that's probably going to be realized is with keepers, right? Running a Chainlink node that performs keeper tasks is very different than running a Chainlink node that serves OCR tasks, for example. And so I think that the most accessible way for a retail user to get integrated into the network is probably going to be through keepers. That's probably my first bet here. Anything else, Eric? Would you say anything else about that? Like, if we think about sectors, maybe like,
yeah, I think that seems reasonable as an initial one, right? I think weather data was potentially one where, the more data points that people are bringing in from the more diverse sources, right? You think about one of the early discussions I used to hear was one of the pieces of alpha to work on is build connections with potential novel data providers. I don't know if that means start emailing universities to get the access to their IoT devices at their collection sites or what, but I anticipate that being one of the areas where a diverse set of data from a diverse set of participants is going to be really valuable. So
yeah, and
I would say keepers. I'd echo that. That's a really good example.
And CCIP could end up being like keepers too, right? Where it's performing a function that's very well defined, and is repeatable. So yet to see what that will actually look like when it's rolled out, but certainly that's a possibility as well.
Are you working hard on CCIP?
We are not. I mean, Johnny, I think is, but at Linkpool, we're really just waiting for that functionality to be in place so we can help support it. And then, the very next thing is how do we help decentralize and make this accessible for others as well? So
we have another question. Okay, how do you manage to keep nodes so smoothly across different networks? You seem to know the in and outs of each network. Okay, it's Linkpool. It's obvious.
Yeah, I feel like that's a bit of a softball question, but
first off, hi Rishi, thanks for saying that.
Yeah, it's every network that Chainlink expands to is a learning process, right? We need to run full nodes for that network. So something like moving to support Solana is a big step, right? We need to learn all the ins and outs of that network so that we can operate the Chainlink nodes to the best of our ability on that network. I think that the short answer is we've got a great team, right? And that's one of the big areas of focus for us in the last year was recruiting and getting the best people in to help us to make that smooth and make that seamless. And I think it's only going to get better and easier, with the exception of maybe BSC. I feel like that's just going to get harder every day. But it is a learning process as Chainlink grows, and I think that's what makes the space so fun, right? You're just always learning; it never ends.
Yes, that's it. For those who are not familiar with Solana, Solana, for example, Terra, are not EVM compatible. So they are built in Rust, I think, and not in Solidity. And it's hard to do some integrations on this, no?
Yeah, even beyond just the actual programming languages too, just the infrastructure requirements to run a Solana node are very different than they are to run a Phantom node, for example. Just very different chains, very different requirements, and just lots of different stuff to figure out. Okay, so there are no more questions from the community, nor from me. I don't know if you want to, I give you the floor for the last thing you want to talk about. Any new developments, anything you could tell us?
I'm going to quickly say, if anybody out there is a senior Golang engineer or is a site reliability engineer with some experience, we're definitely hiring. I'd love to speak to you. Send us an email at hiring@linkpool.io. I'm eager to chat with you.
Yeah. And, we're really looking forward to rolling out these next features. I think I talked about the timeline for NAS. we're looking for a January release for our next release, and I guess I'll just throw out there too that we're aiming for the same for our next market release as well, sometime in January. So we're kind of all hands on deck and working towards that. We're really excited about it. And other than that, I guess, I don't know, we'll talk to you in a year, Mark, and
Yeah.
we'll demo our new products then, and we'll discuss everything that's changed.
Sure. Next year, I will ask same question about
Sure.
the minimum of links, but with 10 links. I hope. and okay, that's it. Okay, thank you very much, guys. It was a pleasure to have you here in this meetup. Every time you come here, it's fantastic, and you have some alpha, something like this. So thank you very much. I think that Chainlink community, also Linkpool community, will be happy with this chat, guys. So
yeah.
Okay,
great.
Yeah,
Congrats
Mark,
on.
Thanks so much for.
I want to complain about one thing.
Sure.
Yeah. Last year we were talking about the possibility that the site of Linkpool were in Spanish. What happens? What happens? 1 year, guys.
Well, let's talk
Google Translate. I don't know.
Actually, yeah, we're actually working on it. If it means anything to you.
Okay.
Yeah, but I want to say, Mark, thank you so much for having us on. Thanks to everybody that's watching. Thanks for asking the great questions that you asked. We really, really appreciate your support. Appreciate you being here to hang out with us and ask us great questions and listen to us banter about NAS and market and all that good stuff. It's a lot.
Here's to 1,000 more integrations.
Okay, let's go in 1 month. No worries.
Probably.
Thank you very much, guys. See you,
Right.
community.
Cheers, Mark.
Bye-bye.
My pleasure.
That's soon.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Nos vemos.
Guys. Gracias.